Tailgates and ready to go. Welcome into this live edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Schultz here with you. So glad to have you with us. Coming up on today's show, we'll go over the latest news and rumors on your Seattle Seahawks as they held a meeting with Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado quarterback, at the East-West Shrine game. We will tell you more about that meeting and dive into the possibility of drafting Shedeur Sanders coming up in just a bit. Also, we're going to talk extension candidates. Who could potentially get another contract to stick around in Seattle? What could those contracts look like? We'll dissect that coming up later on. And it is Wednesday, so that means that we will have a mailbag today. Start getting in your questions now using hashtag Seahawks or super chatting to get on the mailbag portion of today's show. The super chat questions will get priority in that mailbag segment. As you guys file in, shout out your city. We'll shout you out as we get this show off and rolling here on this Wednesday afternoon. Coming at you from the Chat Sports Studios in downtown Dallas, Texas on this Wednesday. We are counting down the days. We're taking the show on the road next week for Super Bowl week. We're going to be live from Radio Row in New Orleans. I know the Hawks, unfortunately, will not be there, but we are going to provide full coverage of the Chiefs and Eagles. And if we happen to see any of our favorite Hawks, past, present, current, somebody that's got ties to the Hawks, then we're going to bring you some content here on the channel. So stay tuned for that coming up next week as we'll be live from New Orleans here on the channel. My first ever trip to Bourbon Street. We'll see if I come back in one piece. Let us know where you're watching from. I got Cop. He's a cop. Checking in from Louisiana. I got Alyssa checking in from Boise. Legend Life is in Topeka, Kansas. I'm sorry to hear that. I got Marion in Walla Walla, Washington. Walla Walla, right on the border of Washington and Oregon. You got Milton Freewater across the way. We got Jonathan saying Geno and DK are unreal. All right. Robert in Sun City, Arizona. Got Richard in Minnesota. Let us know where you are watching from as we get this show started today. I got the Robbins Place in Raleigh, North Carolina. Appreciate y'all being here on today's show. And before we go any further in our program today, let me tell you about a couple of our sponsors. We begin with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. Choose two or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking fantasy points in football, rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, all sorts of different categories to choose from. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS, and they got a couple of great things they're offering right now. They will give you $50 to play for free when you play $5. You don't even have to win to get the money. Just go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. On top of that, folks, they will give you the opportunity to win up to 1,000 times your money. The big game almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game, which includes Patrick Mahomes. All he needs to do is throw more than half a passing yard. Just 1 yard, and if you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Check out Prize Picks today. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. We are also sponsored by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time has got you covered. If you're looking for tickets to the big game in New Orleans, they have those. They also have tickets for events in the Seattle area, like seeing the Kraken in action. And with Game Time, all you got to do, folks, is choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. You choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not, and then you're checking out on Game Time with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. I have made some great memories taking my dad to an NFL playoff game, and you can do the same with Game Time. They got a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's a deal you don't want to pass up on. They have their customize your spot feature, their seat views. The lowest price is guaranteed with Game Time, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPRTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Pleased to be joined on the ones and twos today by none other than Colin Brown. He is one of our resident Seahawk fans in the building here at Chat Sports. And we hear from Colin every now and then, and we're pleased to have him with us in for Big Text today here on this Wednesday. Colin, welcome in. Always a pleasure, my guy. And I know you're excited to talk some Hawks football today, man.
As always, pleasure to be here as well, Teaser. Thank you for having me. And, yeah, man, a lot of Seahawks football content really to talk about. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, the report out of the Shrine Bowl in my own backyard.
Yeah.
University of North Texas. So, going to talk about that along with some extension candidates and, of course, any other questions that the Hawks, the real 12s, have for us here today. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no doubt. We're going to have a great discussion about Shedeur. Our poll question right now, should the Seahawks trade up for Shedeur Sanders? 68% of you going yes, 32% saying no. I will hold my opinions for when we get to the segment coming up later. But Colin, by all means, chime in here. First off, what do you think of Shedeur, and what do you think about the possibility of trading up? Because there's no way he's going to be available at 18.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because there's two different answers
Right.
to those two different questions. I think Shedeur is a prospect. Listen, I think he's fine as a first-rounder. I think he's tough as nails. I think he's accurate. I think he can make it as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. What's up, Mike Nintendo Master? What's up, Myas World? Get all those, answers down in the comment section. But the thing is again, Shedeur Sanders is a prospect I don't look at as a potential future difference maker in the National Football League. Whether it's a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, whoever you want to throw out there. I don't think Shedeur quite has the ceiling to ever quite get there. But could he start, win some games? Yeah, I could see that potentially in Shedeur's future. I mean, again, have nothing problem with that. Then the issue becomes trading up for him. Obviously, Seattle being in the teens, 18th exact, to trade up all the way to potentially 1 with the Tennessee Titans hypothetically, or maybe with the New York Giants, maybe the Cleveland Browns at 2, that would cost a lot to move up from 18 all the way up into the top 3 to get Shedeur Sanders. And I just don't see that Shedeur is the type of prospect warranted for that kind of trade. I mean, we saw in our own division, right, the San Francisco 49ers, right, what they had to give up just to move from, I believe it was either 11 or 12 into the top 3 to get Trey Lance. And Trey Lance turned out to be, well, a bust, plain simple. So, again, I'm not sold on Shedeur that much. I know Seahawks fans are, or at least a good portion of them, are looking to see what the quarterback position will look like beyond Geno Smith. I just don't think Shedeur Sanders is worth that answer, what he will cost.
So I don't want to give away too much because I have a full-on explanation coming up in our segment that we're going to do about this. But I'll say this much, Colin. The pro comp I keep hearing for Shedeur Sanders, I know he thinks that he's a combination of Tom Brady and Mike Vick. He's not. In actuality, the pro comp I keep turning to is that he looks like Geno Smith. And do I really want to give up draft capital, potentially DK and all that, just to get the second coming, a younger version than Shedeur Sanders? I'm leaning towards no. But we'll explain more in detail coming up later on in our segment. 65% of you in our poll question right now saying yes, that Seattle should trade up for Shedeur Sanders. So with Colin being here, that means that he gets the opportunity to shout everybody out in the chat and show y'all some love. So I want to see everybody over this next minute spam S as much as possible. If you're ready for Seahawks Live, if you're happy to be with us here on this Wednesday afternoon, get those S's in the chat. We're going to get as many as we can over this next minute. This is kind of wake up the algorithm, let people know that we're live. We joined you a little bit early today. Yeah. And so we need to let people know that we started this show a little bit quicker than we typically do. So go ahead and start spamming S. I want to see as many as we can over the next minute. Let's see who's going to be the early favorite to be MVP today. Colin's going to shout them all out. Let's see how many we get. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go. We got Legend Life. We got Derek. We got Cecil, Robert, Richard, SC Wolverines, K-Win, Can't Get Right, Legend Life, Connor, Derek, Connor, Rocky, Cecil, Richard, Robert, Connor, Rocky, Robert, Cecil, Richard, Connor, Derek, Richard. Again, if you spam it more times, the more shout-outs you get. It's simple math right there.
Keep going.
Dirty Earl, we got SC, we got Richard, Can't Get Right, Robert, Rocky, we got Connor, Legend, SE, PI, we got Michael, Steve, Michael, Richard, Dirty, Can't Get Right, Rocky, Richard. I shouldn't be able to read names right now. I need those S's flying.
Keep going.
We got Casey, Rocky, him. We got Steve, Michael, Cecil, Legend, Rocky, Connor, Taylor, Derek, Legend, Michael, Robert, Richard, Andrew, Can't, Taylor, Robert, Richard.
About
Can't,
10 more seconds here, folks.
DWS, Robert. We got Cecil, Connor, Dirty Earl, Cecil, Kayer, PI, Connor, Taylor, Rube. We got Can't Get Right, K-Win, Richard, Derek, K-Win, Jeffrey,
nice
Derek.
Work.
Let's freaking go, man.
Nice work, everybody. Nice work. Appreciate everybody getting involved in the chat and making that happen, getting some love from Cullen there. All right, I got 22 likes already. Not bad. Let's get to 50 to start today's show. If you want the Hawks to have a great offseason, if you're glad to be hanging out with Jonesy and Cullen on this Wednesday here on Seahawks Today, hit that like button, and let's get to 50. Let us know in the chat. Type me when you like today's video, and we would love to hear from you guys. Kevin already sent in a super chat. We'll get to Kevin coming up in just a bit. Let's get to 50 likes. Let me know when you like the video. Type me in the chat and do your part, and let's have ourselves a great show today as we're coming at you here on this Wednesday here on Seahawks Today. We're at 35 likes. I need 15 more. I see Richard liked the video. Thank you, Richard. Who else? Connor liked the video. Thank you, Connor. We're at 37. 13 more, and then we can officially get going. Connor, much appreciated. Who else? Who else? 8 more. 8 more. Let me know. Type me when you like the video, and let's get to 50 likes. We're 42. I need 8 more, and then we can get things started. Dirty Earl liked it. Thank you, Dirty Earl. 7 more, and we will get there. But I got to get 7 more likes. Come on. Keep going. 4 more. Legend Life did. Thank you. Scotty did. Appreciate it, Scotty. 4 more. Hold up those 4s. Robert did. Kevin did. 2 more. 2 more. Almost there. Rocky, Asia, Legend Life. There we go. 51 likes. Much appreciated. Thank you all for that. We begin our first Super Chat of the day. Haven't even got to the menu yet, and we got a first-time Super Chatter. As Kevin sends in a $2 Super Chat. We'll give him the chant here in just a moment for being a first-time Super Chatter. But let's answer this question first. Kevin says Jaxson Dart at 18. Cohen, I do not have a first-round grade on Jaxson Dart. So, therefore, I would not be using a first-round pick on Jaxson Dart. I think Jaxson Dart was a fine college quarterback. I don't have much optimism for him as a pro prospect. I think he's going to be more than likely a career backup. I would not take him at 18. I am hoping and praying that Seattle goes offensive line at 18.
Completely agree. I think a lot of people have kind of, tried to, after Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, or Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, whatever order you have it in, they want to know who QB3 is. And a lot of people have said Jaxson Dart. I don't know how much Ole Miss football you watch, Tyler. I watched
a decent amount.
I watched a handful of games. Jaxson Dart would make some of the most boneheaded decisions throughout the course of a game that just left you speechless. Now, I get the arm talent. I get that, again, maybe you're looking at different options here, but 18, I mean, that would just be epically bad decision of epic proportions.
Drafting Jaxson Dart at 18 would be a fireable offense for John Schneider. I think. I would not be taking Jaxson Dart there. I only have Ward and Sanders with first-round grades. Those are the only quarterbacks I'd be taking in the first round. I would not be taking Jaxson Dart there. But, I'm not opposed to the idea of Jaxson Dart with a later selection. But I am opposed to the idea of using a first-round pick on him. Kevin, welcome to the show. We do this for all our first-time Super Chatters. If you've never Super Chatted Seahawks Today before, I encourage you. Doesn't matter if it's $1, if it's $50, whatever it may be. We're going to show you some love no matter what, and we're going to do this chant for you. Everybody start spamming Kevin in the chat. Cullen's going to get the chant going. For Kevin, here we go.
Seahawks!
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 Hawks! Let's go, Kevin. Let's go, Kevin. Spam Kevin in the chat. And there's another first-time super chatter. I haven't even got to the menu yet. And people are sending us super chats, showing some love there.
We'd love to
and
see it.
Getting the chant going. We'll get to the super chat menu momentarily. We also have, by the way, that mailbag coming up later. If you guys send us super chats and their questions, those who get priority for that mailbag segment will bring you coming up later on. Derek with a $2 super chat. We'll answer his question, then we'll get to the chant for Derek. Move Abe Lucas to inside, draft Banks. I believe he's referring to Kelvin Banks from the University of Texas. Two things. I'm not opposed to the idea of moving Abe Lucas to the guard position. Mm-hmm. I am skeptical about his long-term health and how that knee is going to hold up, but I don't think moving him to guard's a bad idea. But then the idea of drafting Kelvin Banks. I love Kelvin Banks. He is number one on my big board for Seattle. But with all that said, I would be very surprised, Colin, if he is available for Seattle to pick there at 18.
That I'm also not sure if he is going to play tackle at the next level. I mean, his
That
arm
too.
length, both him and Will Campbell, they were looked at as two of the highest graded offensive tackles, at least by a lot of draft experts. I know Mel Kiper had them both rated fairly high. I'm not sure if Kelvin Banks is going to play tackle at the next level. So, I mean, that's also another question you got yourself. Again, with Abe Lucas moving inside, that's another possibility I'm not opposed to. I do think when he's healthy, he's got a chance to be one of the better right tackles in the National Football League. The problem, as you mentioned, Tyler, is, hey, he can't stay healthy. So, I mean, it's something that Seattle's going to have to explore this offseason. They've got to improve the interior of the offensive line. But that could be an option that they explore. I'm not opposed to that either.
Yeah, and maybe there's a possibility where you draft Banks and put him on the inside and keep Abe at the right tackle spot.
Right.
Maybe there's a world where that potentially happens. Derek, we owe you the chant. Colin, get it for Derek. Everybody start spamming Derek in the chat.
Seahawks!
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 Let's go, Derek. Welcome, Derek. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for supporting us and being a first-time super chatter. Much appreciated. Jeffrey G. writes in, should the Seahawks pursue Mekhi Becton? I like Mekhi Becton. That's a talented football player. It would fill a position of need. I think he's a name to keep in mind. He's not my first choice by any stretch, but Mekhi Becton, I think, wouldn't be a bad option necessarily.
Yeah, it really depends on the market, right? Because obviously, former first-round pick, he really flamed out is the best term you can put it with the New York Jets, especially at tackle. He just had weight problems and everything, couldn't stay healthy. And then he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Great infrastructure, great offensive line, playing alongside Lane Johnson. I mean, as a right guard, there's not many right tackles you'd rather have alongside of you. So, again, if you're able to get Mekhi Becton at a fair, reasonable market deal, but, I mean, he's going to command, I would say, at least $10 million plus a year.
I think he would be better than Laken Tomlinson.
He would be. But, again, at what price are you willing to bank on 1 year of production?
Right, and John Schneider has not been willing to pay the guard position in the past. But Mekhi Becton's a thought, and we'll see what they potentially do there. But, Jeffrey, it's an interesting idea. I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea. We'll see if they potentially do that. Thank you for that $2 super chat, Jeffrey. Much appreciated. Dirty Earl also sent in a $1 super chat. He rejected his message, though. I don't know if we can put that on screen.
Yeah, it's not pulling up. Yeah, I guess he retracted it. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
there we
go. Hey, we appreciate the super chat. You retracted the message, so we can't put it on screen, but we appreciate, at the very least, Dirty Earl, for you sending us that you could buy today. $10 super chat. We will do Jello shots. I have plenty of these, and Colin could do these as well. Y'all could choose. Could be me, could be Colin. I got 6 on tap, and we could grab more if we need.
Yeah.
Just depends on how many you guys want us to do throughout the day today.
Yeah. And are those purple?
They are purple.
Okay.
They are purple. These ones taste very good.
Okay, I haven't had those ones yet. So
You'll like them. Let Colin try one. Send in a $10 super chat. Colin can try one. $20, do a beer bong. Get a beer bong right here ready for you. And as always, the offer stands. If we get to 300 in super chats, that means that we will do a boot. $sign next to the chat box if you would like to contribute and take part in today's program. And the super chats will get priority in that mailbag segment. We'll be bringing you coming up later on in the show.
You want to just hit this real quick before we get to our.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
So, courtesy of James Palmer through Underdog, Russell Wilson reuniting with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas is a real possibility.
Ooh.
According to James Palmer. Again, Seahawks adjacent news, obviously with both those guys no longer with the Seahawks. But
so let's talk about that for a moment here.
Yep.
I would say that the biggest reason why that Russ left town was because of Pete, because they couldn't see eye to eye, and there was a lot of back and forth between those two for years.
Yep.
And they're both of their careers have gone, a little sour. Pete losing his job in Seattle, Russ not playing so hot in Denver and Pittsburgh. That might be a situation where they say, you know what, we were actually better together. And in the case of the Las Vegas Raiders, they're looking for kind of a bridge, short-term quarterback. I don't think anybody out there expects Russ to be their long-term solution. If Russ is willing to accept the possibility that, hey, we're just bringing you in for the short term. We know that you know Pete and you've worked with Pete.
Yeah.
Then maybe that could work for a short-term plan for the Raiders potentially. I'd be intrigued to see if that happens. I don't think it's a terrible idea for Vegas, especially like considering who they got. Like I would still take Russ over Aiden O'Connell and the other guys they have there in Vegas. I would be very intrigued to watch from afar.
Well, and again too, so taking this kind of all the way back, right? You mentioned that their history and everything. When Russ initially requested a trade, he listed 4 teams as possible destinations originally before he was even traded to Denver. Those teams being the Dallas Cowboys, the New Orleans Saints, the Chicago Bears, and of course, the Raiders. So he's already mentioned that he could potentially see himself playing in Las Vegas. Again, with Pete Carroll, I believe Darrell Bevell, there was some news there. I actually haven't fully dived in on that, but I think Pete and Darrell Bevell, obviously Russ's former offensive coordinator in Seattle. So there's a lot of connections there.
Yeah. There's also talk about Shane Waldron potentially being on that staff.
A bunch of different possibilities, right? And if you're the Raiders, your chances of getting either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are slim to none.
Yeah.
Right? So you need a quarterback better than Aiden O'Connell,
then,
better than Gardner Minshew.
Even if, Colin, you somehow land Cam or Shedeur, more than likely, I don't think it's a bad idea for them to sit for a year under Russ. Right. If Russ is willing to accept being that mentor and leader, I don't think that's a bad option either.
Yeah, and again, this is another chance for Russ that, hey, he bought himself another chance to be a starting quarterback, I believe, for a team in 2025. And Las Vegas could be that team that kind of just says, hey, you know what, we're willing to give you a shot here, and if he's shows his worth, who knows? Maybe he can stick around for a couple more years. He is getting older. He's in, his mid-30s now. But, hey, you never know. If Russ balls out in Vegas, him and Pete just coalesce, you never know what could happen. So
Let me ask you this, Colin. This is a question for the chat, too.
Yep.
Are you rooting for Pete in Vegas? And would you root for Pete and Russ in Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, I have no hatred towards either one of those. Again, Russ, greatest quarterback in Seahawks history. Pete Carroll, greatest coach, in Seahawks history. I got a lot of love for him. I have nothing against the Raiders in the AFC West. Hey, more power to them if they're able to find success over there. Marshawn Lynch was a former Seahawk.
Right.
KJ Wright's Marshall Lynch became a Raider. KJ Wright became a Raider. I mean, it seems like, there's a little mini pipeline going there. So,
and then some people mention that, hey, they're old AFC West rivals and all that. That was so long ago.
Yeah. I mean, the Seahawks moved into the NFC West in, 2002?
Right.
It's been over 2 decades.
Yeah.
So,
the Raiders are out of mind,
yeah.
On that front. I would say
separate conference. It's not even.
I would say I would root for their success to an extent. Selfishly, I would be saying to myself, Colin, I want them to do well, but not too well. I would not want them to do better than what Seattle is.
Oh yeah, obviously. I mean, obviously you root for your own team's success and everything, but yeah.
If Seattle, let's say, wins 11 games next year, I don't want the Raiders to win more than 10.
That's fair. But I mean, if the Raiders were to make the playoffs, it would be cool to see that. Even if it's just for one season, for them to, and again, that's a tough division that they're walking into with obviously Chiefs that are going to the Super Bowl. You've got the Chargers and the Broncos who both made the postseason this year. So it's not going to be an easy task. So, I mean, hey, why not?
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's tell you what's coming up on today's show. We'll get to the latest news and rumors on your Seattle Seahawks. We're talking Shedeur Sanders today as he met with the Seahawks staff at the East-West Shrine game. We'll tell you more about that and the possibility of him coming to Seattle. Also, we'll talk extension candidates. I got some players that could be sticking around for a while with new contracts. And then we'll do Q-Day Rumors Mailbag. Get your questions in now using hashtag Seahawks or Super Chatting to get on today's program. Appreciate y'all being here. Jonesy and Cullen here with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Glad to have you with us. Let's get started with our first segment of the day. We begin with our news and rumors here on this live edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, starting right now. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. If you have been a Hawks fan for 5 years or more, I need you to like today's video. If not, that's okay. Come one, come all. Let us know how long you have been a fan of the Seattle Seahawks. Just a little fan survey. I want to gauge the audience and see what we're working with this offseason. Who is still around, folks? Let us know in the comments section. We'll get started with today's show. Welcome in. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. Shedeur Sanders. Could he be on his way to Seattle? According to a new report, the Hawks staff met with Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders at the East-West Shrine Bowl in Dallas this week. That game taking place on Thursday night. And Shedeur Sanders, one of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft. Could they be looking potentially to move up in the draft and bring Shedeur in as their next franchise quarterback? Let's start with this from Justin Mello of Seahawks Wire, providing some context of the situation. He said the following: The All-Star circuit is certainly underway, with both the East-West Shrine and Senior Bowl simultaneously ongoing. While at the East-West Shrine, members of the Seahawks brass held an in-person meeting with Colorado Buffaloes quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Now, before we jump to any conclusions here, I'll say this: there's no harm at all in meeting with Shedeur Sanders. Although it's highly unlikely, I think, that he ends up in Seattle at this point in time. I don't blame the Seahawks coaching staff, management, whoever it was, for doing their due diligence on Shedeur Sanders, getting to know him a bit. You never know what that could lead to, whether it's other Colorado players that they could be interested in. Maybe if Shedeur doesn't work out with a team that he's drafted with and they get some intel on him down the line, whatever it may be. This is not unusual. I mean, the Hawks, they've met over the years with guys like J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, heck, even Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, among others, Baker Mayfield, just to name a few. They were real high on C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson a couple of years ago as well. Here's what you need to know when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. Mel Kiper Jr. has him as the number 4 overall player in this year's draft and the number 1 quarterback. He's projected to be picked in the top 6 of the draft. Him and Cam Ward are the 2 top quarterbacks in this year's draft, and I would be surprised if both of them fell beyond that top 6. Where exactly he plays? Well, his dad might have something to say about that. Coach Prime, the head coach there at the University of Colorado, his father, according to reports, will not allow him to play for a couple of teams. We have not heard the Hawks mentioned in that possibility of being one of those teams at this point in time. When you look at this draft, of the top 6 picks, at least 4 of them need a quarterback right now. The Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, and the Las Vegas Raiders. Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN had this to say on Shedeur Sanders: You won't find a tougher or more resilient quarterback prospect than Sanders, who took 99 sacks over the past 2 seasons, but still put up really strong numbers. I'm always impressed watching him throw on the move, rolling either left or right. He is very accurate in those spots and has the arm to drive the ball. When his mechanics and footwork are sound, he can pick apart a defense. And while he's not necessarily a major rushing threat, he can keep the chains moving with his legs when there is an opening. The comp that Shedeur Sanders keeps getting, I know that he thinks he's a combination of Tom Brady and Michael Vick. But in reality, most folks are saying that he looks similar to Geno Smith. I am not ready to sell the farm, and that's what it would take. We'll show you a trade idea here in just a moment. It would require selling the farm to bring in potentially the second coming of Geno Smith, which at best you're looking at a younger, better, cheaper version of Geno Smith if that is the case. 12 Man Rising had this trade idea to potentially move up and put Seattle in position to get Shedur Sanders, of giving up their first-round pick at 18, their third-round pick at 81, and DK Metcalf in order to get that number 1 pick. I'll tell you this right now. It is a hell no from me when it comes to that trade offer. And one reason why, when I look at Shedur Sanders, his 2 seasons in Colorado, remember that first year when he was under so much pressure, took so many sacks? With this offensive line and not being able to use your first or third round pick on offensive linemen, you're throwing Shedur into a situation that would be almost identical to his first year at Colorado when he had no time to throw the football. He was a talented player, but there wasn't much he could do, and as a result, they only won 4 games. Seattle has to address the offensive line issue before we can think about finding a franchise quarterback and being in position to sell the farm to find that guy. You have to be able to have somebody to protect your franchise quarterback up front first. Should the Seahawks trade up for Shedur Sanders? I'm a hell no. I'm typing HN. What are you guys at? Let us know. Type HY for hell yes, HN for hell no. Weigh in the comments section and let us know. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time has got you covered, including tickets for the big game. I've had some great memories taking my dad to NFL playoff games over the years, and you can too. You can make a lifetime of memories going to an event with Game Time, whether it's in Seattle, maybe you want to go to New Orleans and go to the big game. You choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. You choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not, and then boom, you're checking out with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's a deal you don't want to pass up on. You can customize your spot. You also get the seat views. You can get the 3D effects, see what that seat is like. The lowest price is guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Term supply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPRTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. All right, let's get a chance to know Shedur Sanders a little bit further. Began his career at Jackson State, playing under his father there as a 4-star recruit out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Then when his dad took the Colorado job, he, along with his brother Shiloh and Travis Hunter, and among others, went on to Colorado, and they were in the final year of the Pac-12 conference, and then they transitioned to the Big 12 conference. And in his first year in the Big 12, he was named the league's Offensive Player of the Year this past season. Also won the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award as well. And his statistics this past season were very good, as he was able to throw for 41 total touchdowns, over 4,100 yards, a completion percentage of 74%, And this is where I say he's not Mike Vick, folks, because although he can move out of the pocket and he can throw on the run, he's not much of a runner downfield, as he finished this past season with negative 50 rushing yards. You do have to take into account that at the college level, sacks count against rushing stats compared to the NFL. But nonetheless, he's not as mobile as he would like you to think he is as far as that goes. The scouting report throws with great accuracy. He can deliver it on a dime. He's been trustworthy with the game on the line. We've seen him rally this Colorado team in some big moments over the years. He is a plus-level athlete, despite not being the great runner that he thinks he is. He's still a good athlete. Delivers the ball downfield very well, but he does need to improve his pocket instincts, and those were certainly tested with the lack of offensive line over the last 2 seasons at Colorado. One major concern I have with Shedeur Sanders, and I would say the same for Travis Hunter, and I would say the same for Shiloh and all those cats that came from Colorado, is the show that comes with him. I know Deion's still coaching at Colorado, but you have to think he's going to be heavily involved. And all the publicity and all the hype and all the attention that surrounds Shedur Sanders, I don't know if I want that type of ego that he brings to the quarterback position. I can deal with a diva at wide receiver or maybe on the defense or another position. But at the quarterback spot, I don't know if I want that if Shedeur has what I'm looking for in that sense at that quarterback position. Do you believe in Shedur Sanders? Type B for believe, D for don't. Get in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Seahawks Today is closing in on 63,000 subscribers on the channel. We're just over 300 away from reaching that next milestone. We're going to be coming at you live from Radio Row next week for Super Bowl week, bringing you exclusive content as we'll be talking to some of your favorite people connected with the Seattle Seahawks there in New Orleans. Make sure and join us. Help us reach our next milestone of 63,000 subscribers. For the latest happenings of your favorite team all offseason long, subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. So here's a question I have when it comes to Shedur Sanders and his attitude. What is it? Is he cocky or is he confident? And there is a difference between the two. I'm okay with a guy being very confident, but being cocky is a bridge too far, and I'm not looking for that in my quarterback. Shedur Sanders said this recently when he was asked about the pressures of being an NFL quarterback, and like he would know the answer because he's played how many downs in the NFL? He said this. When asked, is there pressure on him, he said, I don't think there is. That's why the pressure doesn't faze me. That's why no situation would ever faze me. That's why I know I'm the most guaranteed risk you can take. The most guaranteed risk you can take. The words from Shedur Sanders. Is that a lot of confidence or is he a bit cocky? I'll say this. Shedur can be great. I think he has the potential to be a great quarterback in the National Football League. But I need him to mature a little bit. Granted, he's young, comes from a great football family. His dad's one of the greatest football players of all time, prime time, and all that. There's going to be some of that comes with the territory when you're Deion Sanders' kid. But with that said, I need Shedur to be a leader of men. And I know he's close with Tom Brady. Maybe Tom can kind of lead him down that right path. I don't want him to be worried just about his own self. I can recall just this past offseason when College Football 25 came out and he was trashing his own offensive line playing a video game. I don't want that from my quarterback. If Shedur is going to be the Seahawks quarterback, I need him to reel it in a little bit. And maybe that just comes with age. Potentially, we'll see. If you enjoyed today's show, like the video. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time right here on Seattle Seahawks Today. All right. Adam Baum with a $10 super chat says, don't sleep on my boy, Kyle McCord for quarterback. And that will be a Jello shot. Adam, you let me know. Do you want me to take it or do you want Colin to take it? He's never tried one of these purple Jello shots before. We give him the chance to do so. Kyle McCord, and I'll save this more for the mailbag. I'll elaborate a little bit further. But Colin, by all means, if he wasn't good enough for Ohio State, that concerns me a bit. Because I understand, yes, he had success this past season at Syracuse. But the level of competition he faced at Syracuse wasn't nearly as good as what he faced at Ohio State in the Big Ten. I think there was some stat padding going on. Credit where credit's due, but I'm not so sold on Kyle McCord. Definitely not a first-round talent. Maybe you keep an eye on him if he's available later in the draft, but I have my doubts on Kyle McCord.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously he was very productive, as you mentioned, transferring from Ohio State. And he put up some good games and everything, and he was flashy. He obviously carried that swagger with him. I remember the quotes that he had later in the season where, they didn't want me and everything whenever Ohio State was kind of going through their down part of their season, let's put it that way. And, look, I mean, he clearly is a guy that I think should get invited to the Combine. He should be involved in the draft process. And if you want to spend a day 3 pick on him, fine. I'm just not in any way remotely thinking about him day 1, day 2.
Yeah, I'm not either. Adam says he wants Colin to take it. So, Colin, here you go, my friend.
Appreciate it.
His first ever purple Jello shot.
Kind of curious. So,
and every $10 super chat today, we're taking down these Jello shots. There he goes.
Oh, that is good.
You like it?
Yeah.
Good flavor?
That's really good flavor. I don't know if that's grape or what that is, but
I think it's grape.
Yeah, it's good. It doesn't have like that. You know how grape sometimes will have that like medicine taste to it?
Yeah.
Where it's just like, that doesn't have
like
that.
Robitussin?
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have that.
Doesn't have it. That's good. That's good. Adam, thanks for the $10 super chat. We'll include that in the mailbag. Much appreciated. RJG, the wild one, writes in, I like Jalen Milroe as a quarterback for the future for us. He can learn behind Geno and all. I also like Jimmy Horn Jr. as Tyler's replacement. Thoughts? Let's start with the beginning, and then we'll get to Jimmy Horn. Jalen Milroe, there's a lot of raw stuff there. He's an incredible athlete. He's a great runner. He's very physical. But the arm accuracy, it simply isn't there. That is a project in Jalen Milroe. He's another one, kind of like what I mentioned with Kyle McCord. Not opposed to later rounds, but I'm not drafting him high. He had plenty of opportunities, Cullen, at Alabama, where he had all those resources, 2 different coaching staffs, Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer, to show me a little something. And he never could quite take that next step. I'm afraid this is just who he is.
Yeah, and I think, obviously his – I don't know if you saw. I mean, he's got some pretty small hands. They're smaller than Kenny Pickett's, by the way.
Ooh.
To me, there's just too many red flags with him to take him in the first round. Could a team potentially convince themselves maybe round 3, hey, Jalen Milroe, we can, develop this guy and everything? Because, I mean, he is, as you mentioned, as an athlete, an NFL-type athlete. I just don't think he processes the game well. He's inaccurate. I think at times he can fall into running more than throwing, which, at the next level can get you in a lot of trouble. And, again, if some team really thinks it would, to me personally, I'm not taking him until round 4 at the earliest.
Yeah.
But listen, as a project, sure. Now, in terms of Jimmy Horn Jr., interesting.
He's a different receiver than Tyler.
Yes.
If you say he's a replacement, he's not taking on the Tyler role because he's got a ton of speed. He's a big weapon down the field, stretches things vertically. But what you could argue is maybe JSN's playing the old Tyler Lockett role.
Right.
And then he steps in and plays the speedster complementary to DK. So yes, technically it's Tyler's replacement, but I wouldn't see him in Tyler's old role.
Exactly, yeah. They're 2 stylistically different receivers. Again, really talented. He obviously played with Shedeur Sanders, who we just talked about. He's a really interesting prospect. I'm interested to see how he tests, with his 40-yard time, his 3-cone and everything, just to kind of get a gauge on what kind of an athlete he is. I mean, to me, he did jump off the screen a couple times when I watched Colorado play football. So, yeah. I mean, he's definitely talented. I will say one name that I'll just throw out for free as a wide receiver, kind of, again, not a first-round target, but maybe, in the later rounds could be somebody. And honestly, he's having a really good Senior Bowl right now. Tez Johnson, the wide receiver out of Oregon, in Pacific Northwest. Again, he's very light. I mean, he's probably like $150, $160. But he is just a guy that is explosive, can create the downfield action, like you said, a deep threat. And I think he could be somebody that if Seattle's looking to draft and replace Tyler Lockett in, this upcoming draft in 2025, he's a name that I would keep an eye on.
Yeah, I like Tez Johnson. Great story with him. He and Bo Nix, high school teammates. Bo Nix's family took him in and raised him as their own. He considers Bo to be his brother. Bo followed him to Oregon. Obviously, Bo with the Broncos now. I would think the Broncos are going to be a team that is going to be keeping tabs on him. But Tez Johnson, I think, is a fine football player. Jimmy Horn, I don't think would be a bad selection either, but just not necessarily in that role necessarily of Tyler Lockett, if that makes sense. Super Chat menu, if you want to send a Super Chat, want us to down some jello shots, we get plenty of them here for you, folks, that we need to get rid of. We're one down, we got 5 to go. But if we need to get more, we can grab more, folks. $20, we'll do a beer bong. I got a beer bong right here for you. Ready? Folks, send in a $20 Super Chat, and we'll take care of that accordingly. And $sign next to the chat box if you want to make it happen. And our Super Chats, we will get priority in that mailbag segment. We'll be bringing you coming up later. Up next, let's talk extension candidates. I got 6 players to keep an eye on and what their contract projections could potentially look like on a new deal. We'll explain that coming up as we continue here on this live edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Segment 2, extension candidates, starts right now. Glad to have you with us here on Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. We are breaking down the top players the Seahawks could extend this offseason, guys that they are looking to keep around long term. We're going to go over their numbers. We also are going to talk about their potential fits long term and more coming up in just a moment. Let's start with DK Metcalf at the wide receiver position. And the wide receiver market has gotten very, very expensive right now. And you look at DK's value, he is thought to be worth about $76.5 million over a 3-year period. And before all of you come at me and say, Seattle doesn't have any cap space, how can they afford DK? We've already done the Cut Candidates video a week ago where we told you about how Seattle has the chance to open up about $77 million in cap space. So I don't want to hear any excuses about how Seattle can't afford a guy like DK or some of the others we're talking about here. They can pay that if they want to. The other option, obviously, is potentially trade him. And if they trade him, they still take on a $20 million cap hit, whether he's playing for Seattle or playing for somebody else. So with all that in mind, I'd rather pay him and keep him than I would trade him. Not to mention, a few years ago, if you would have traded DK, you could have gotten a first-round pick. Those days have come and gone. I'm not going to get the value for DK of what he's really worth. And say what you want about DK. I know some of you don't like his antics. You get frustrated with the personal foul penalties and his attitude and all that. Believe me, I totally understand. But he's been arguably the most consistent player on this Seahawks team for the last 5+ seasons. He definitely has been the most consistent player offensively. This past year, even with the games he missed, and he stayed relatively healthy throughout his career as well, still almost had 1,000 receiving yards with JSN going with 1,100. Had 1,100 yards in 2023, over 1,000 in 2022, nearly 1,000 in 2021 as well. DK, I'm not moving on from DK. I'll pay DK to keep him around. Not to mention, you keep DK, you take some of the pressure off of JSN as well, and you open up this offense. And if you're going to lose Tyler Lockett, I don't want to be losing DK Metcalf in the process as well. Do you agree with me? I think Seattle should extend DK. What do you think? Type E for extend, D for decline. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in and let us know. E for extend, D for decline. Up next, we find Geno Smith at the quarterback position for Seattle. And it's interesting with Geno. A lot of talk right now about his future. He wants a new contract. He wants to stay in Seattle long term. Are the Hawks willing to pay him the money long term. And what does long term look like? Is it just a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years or more potentially? The projection with Geno is kind of tough because we see people like Spotrac say that he's valued at about $37 million. But then you look at the quarterback market and it continues to go up, and then you have to compare it with what other teams would be willing to pay Geno. And Geno's going to look for money to keep him happy. He's not going to look to take a discount. I think about 2 years, $80 million, a team option on the second deal, and then you move around the cap to give you some flexibility for this year potentially. I think that's realistically what you're looking at with Geno. What I would say is when it comes to Geno Smith and his long-term prospects is that Seattle should view Geno as a year-to-year thing. I think that based on where Seattle is at this year in the draft, picking 18, and this not being a great class for quarterbacks, you're going to bring Geno back next year. Even if you do end up drafting a quarterback, they need to sit behind Geno and learn before they're ready for that process. And then you kind of go from there, and you don't need to give him this long 4 or 5 year deal because, folks, on top of everything else we just mentioned, he's 34 years old. He's not a spring chicken. He's not getting any younger. And you don't tend to get better with age in your late 30s. Geno coming off a solid season, 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, with just an awful offensive line that he sat behind. And he's been solid for Seattle. I think he's been underappreciated. Will he ever be a franchise quarterback? Certainly not. But he's doing his part. He's doing what's asked of him of being a bridge quarterback. And to think that he got Seattle out of the Russell Wilson situation as well, with all things considered, he has done his job on that front. Should the Seahawks bring back Geno Smith? What do you think? Type Y for yes, N for no. Would you give an extension to Geno to keep him around for a while? Weigh in and let us know. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose 2 or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less. Whether you're talking fantasy points in football, rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, all sorts of different categories to choose from. Go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. And with Prize Picks, you can get up to 1,000 times your money. And Prize Picks is offering you, folks, $50 to play for free when you play $5. You don't even have to win to get the money. Just go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. The big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is giving away a free pick for the big game where Patrick Mahomes will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. Yes, you heard that right. Go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, proud partner of Seattle Seahawks today. Prize Picks, run your game. Up next, Charles Cross at the offensive tackle position. Had a solid rookie campaign. Second season, he was dealing with injuries. And then his third year was a breakout campaign. It was the best version of Charles Cross we've seen in his entire career. And with just how unstable the interior was, with Abraham Lucas coming back from injury, he was the only constant, the only player you could depend on this offensive line. And protecting Geno's blind side, I need him around for a while. I can't let Charles Cross walk out of that door. If you think this offensive line is bad now, just wait till you see what it looks like without Charles Cross. 4 years, close to $68 million is what he's likely going to command, and I think he's earned it. I think that Charles Cross has proven enough. He found a way to fight through that injury and come back and put up a really, really good campaign. And if you need the numbers to back it up, Pro Football Focus gave him some really good grades. These are right up there with some of the best offensive linemen in the entire league. Close to 1,100 snaps, an overall grade close to 83, a pass block grade of 82. His run blocking, which was considered a weakness when he was drafted out of Mississippi State, that's come a long ways. a 78 grade run blocking wise. I like what I've seen from Charles Cross. He doesn't need to go anywhere. Do you believe in Charles Cross? Are you all in on the Cross? Type B for believe, D for don't. Weigh in and let us know. Seahawks Today continues to bring you the best Seahawks coverage you won't find anywhere else as we're bringing you our daily news and rumors. We're doing live shows not just once but twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays now. And on top of that, folks, we're bringing you breaking news. I don't care if I'm in my apartment or if I'm on the road. If something happens, we're going to bring you a video as quick as we can here on the channel. Subscribe now for the latest happenings on your favorite team all off season long. The best part about it, 100% free. Don't have to pay a single thing. Subscribe now, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. Up next is Boye Mafe at the outside linebacker position. And Boye had a bit of a down year this year compared to his second season when he led Seattle in sacks. And that actually, long-term, might be to Seattle's benefit that he had a bit of a down year because his price tag went down from what it potentially could have been, as you're looking at Boye getting probably about a 3-year, $36 million deal. With that said, I don't think this is urgent for Seattle to extend Boye Mafe. I think you have bigger priorities of guys you need to take care of, and maybe you want to see what he potentially offers this season. What does he have in store for year 4? Can he take a big step up, or is this just who he is? Was the 2023 campaign the best version of Boye Mafe, or can he be a dominant pass rusher in the National Football League? All of that remains to be seen. I want to keep Boye around, but I have more important things to take care of first as far as that goes. Who's a player the Seahawks should extend? We've gone over a couple names. We have a few more to get to before we wrap up. Who comes to mind? Get in that comment section. Let us know a player Seattle should extend. Next up is Rick Woolen at the corner position. Rick Woolen had a fantastic rookie season, was a Pro Bowler. Second year, took a bit of a step back, dealt with some injuries, struggled with tackling. And then year 3 was full of peaks and valleys. We saw Rick Woolen look really good at times and not so good at times. And you look at this corner position, you know Devon Witherspoon's going to be around for a long time. And then you look at the other two starting spots. Josh Jobe, I don't think is anything more than a backup. I think you got to keep Rick. I think that you got to keep Rick Woolen. I think you look at replacing Jobe, finding a better quality starter next to Rick at that outside corner spot. Maybe Jobe can be a backup and you keep around in that sense. But I'm looking at about 4 years, close to $64 million. But he still has something to prove, though. There's some unfinished business here. And this could be another one potentially, much like what we talked about with Boye, where let's see what he does for another year. Is Rick going to get back to the old version we saw as a rookie, or was that year an anomaly? Is this just who he is at this point in time? Those are questions I have for Rick Woolen right now. I would like to see him back, but that's not the number one thing I'm looking to do is give Rick Woolen an extension at this point. I got other priorities here. Pick one to keep. Would you rather keep Boye or would you rather keep Rick? Type BM for Boye Mafe. Type RW for Rick Woolen. Weigh in the comments section. Let us know. Last on our list of extension candidates is safety Kobe Bryant. It was a breakout season for Kobe Bryant. He spent his rookie season as a corner, made the shift to the safety spot in his second year, was banged up his second season. And then year 3, Rayshon Jenkins was initially the starter. He gets hurt. Kobe Bryant comes in, and he capitalized on the opportunity, and he was fantastic in the second half of this season. And because you have a small sample size of Kobe Bryant playing at a high level, just half a season, I think this is one I would go ahead and take care of pretty quickly because if he has another good campaign, that price is going to jump up quite a bit. Right now, I think Kobe gets paid kind of in the middle half tier of starting safeties in the NFL. Probably about 2 years, $10.1 million. this could be a good, nice discount for Seattle to get ahead on this, especially if he has a big year this year and see that price tag go up quite a bit. Kobe Bryant, the year he had, he was a ball hawk. He did a really good job of forcing turnovers, 3 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 6 pass breakups, 73 tackles, and he looks like he could potentially be a long-term answer for Seattle at that safety spot next to Julian Love. Before we go, let me ask you this question. We've gone over a list of extension candidates. Who is a player the Hawks should not extend? Whether it's one of these 6 individuals we talked about or somebody else on the roster that you're saying to yourself, I don't want that guy around here any longer. Who is somebody that comes to mind that you don't want Seattle to extend? Get in that comment section. Give me at least one name that you would like to see not return. Appreciate you joining us here on Seattle Seahawks today. As always, you can find me on X at Tyler Jones Live. That's my username for all platforms, whether it's X or Instagram, Facebook. You can find me, all of those, at Tyler Jones Live. I'm headed to New Orleans for Super Bowl week. We're going to provide you some fantastic content talking about your Seattle Seahawks and see who we potentially run into that's got Seahawk ties there in New Orleans. Stay tuned for that. Follow me on X, and I will see you next time right here on Seahawks Today. All right. 2 down, 1 to go. We'll get to our mailbag here in just a moment. Let's talk DK real quick. Should the Seahawks extend DK? Colin, you heard my case. Now let's hear you. Would you be extending DK?
Yeah. No, I think you kind of nailed it on the head whenever you said, listen, you're already planning on Tyler Lockett not being on the roster next season. And I think that's a pretty safe assumption at this point. Nothing's official, but, you know, even with Tyler Lockett's comments about the last game, like, he feels that his time in Seattle may be coming to an end. With Jaxon Smith-Njigba really establishing himself in the National Football League with the year that he had, I would like to keep DK Metcalf around to kind of just stabilize this wide receiver room, even though, again, DK will have his ups and downs in terms of his emotions, his untimely penalties and all that.
There's a lot more good than bad.
A lot more good than bad. And I think DK's earned an extension with Seattle. I mean, obviously, he's signed one already. I would like it if, you know, DK, listen, could be this guy, you know, the leader that he has been and continues to be for many years to come. It will come down to price point. I think this could be something that lingers into training camp because I think DK is going to want to get paid. And he feels like he's earned it. And again, we can throw up his stats here in a second, but he's performed well. I see
JoJo in the comments saying we don't have cap for O-line and they draft terrible O-linemen. JoJo, how many times do I have to tell you this? There is a path to create $77 million in cap space and cuts alone. There's always money somewhere. And the cap's about to go up too. I would add this, Cullen, when it comes to this extension for DK. I want to keep him, but I'm more than willing to say this would be his last contract with Seattle, more than likely, though.
More than likely, yes.
So I'm just capitalizing this window I have.
Yeah.
And then going from there. I think that's what you're looking at, is just taking advantage of, you know, he's got another year after this year, add 3 years after that, and roll with that. I think that's your window you're looking at with DK here.
100%. And again, if you want to do that, re-sign him and then draft a wide receiver, potentially round 3, round 4, you know, I'm perfectly good with that as well. I think DK Metcalf should be in the Seahawks' plans for the future. If, you know, again, he would become ridiculous, which I don't think he would be. I think DK Metcalf will be a Seahawk for the next 3-4 years potentially. So I'm all for bringing back DK Metcalf.
All right, let us know. Should Seattle extend DK or not? E for extend, D for decline. Weigh in and let us know. We're going to do our mailbag here in a moment. Colin, how are we doing on questions?
Well, we got those couple super chat questions. So we got those. And then for regular questions, we got, let's see. We've got a few. We
can always use more.
That is true.
I see Not Lover just sent in a question. I see Seattle Flight sent in a question. Use hashtag Seahawks or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. Let me get 1 or 2 more questions. I'm going to put a minute on the clock. Let's get those questions in, then we'll get to the mailbag. Super Chat menu today. If you guys want to contribute and support the show and have some fun with us as our Wednesday shows. It's always happy hour. Wednesday happy hour It's the middle of the week. No better way to kick back than to have some fun with us. We got Jello shots for $10. I have yet to have my first one. Colin had one. I want to have one, but you guys got to give me the chance to have one. $10, I'm doing a Jello shot. $20, we'll do a beer bong. $1 next to the chat box if you want to contribute. And we would certainly appreciate that if you guys get involved in that sense. Do we have enough questions? Let's see. I gave you guys a minute. I want Lon. I want Juan, Ian. Like, I see this from who? I don't even know how to say that. You didn't use hashtag Seahawks. You didn't use hashtag Seahawks. Ian, he's saying if it was really happy hour, you'd be offering us half off. Ian, this is much cheaper than a watch party. This is half off.
Yeah. Believe
me, this is half off. I would be charging you $20 for a Jello shot on a watch party. This is half off, man.
Yeah.
Send in your questions. Law, I want you. That's a good question, but I need you to use hashtag Seahawks.
We've got, in terms of questions, 3, 4, 5, 6
okay.
total.
I think we can make that work.
Yeah.
All right. As we get this mailbag started, you guys can submit more questions to us as we go along this thing, and we'll go about 10 to 12 minutes here. And I see Big Daddy. Whoa, pause. With a super chat. We'll include that in the mailbag, and I get to that. Here we go. Final segment. It is mailbag time right here on Seahawks Today. Let's get started right now. Welcome in. Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. It is mailbag time, and you guys got some interesting trade ideas. I already kind of took a sneak peek into the mailbag this week. I heard you guys asking me about Cooper Kupp, Jordan Davis, a few others. We will examine those possibilities and answer the rest of your mailbag questions coming up on today's show. Let's get started with Adam Baum with a $10 super chat. He says, don't sleep on my boy, Kyle McCord, for quarterback. Adam, this guy's just obsessed with Kyle McCord. Adam, I'll tell you this when it comes to Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord had a very good year at Syracuse, but he wasn't good enough for the Ohio State. So much so they turned to Will Howard to be their starting quarterback. I'll tell you this much. I know Ohio State's been a great program. Obviously, they won the national championship this year and all. But if you're not good enough for Ohio State, why should I believe you're good enough for the Seattle Seahawks? I'm not using a first-round pick on McCord. I can tell you that much. Maybe we can have a conversation about drafting him later on, but I have some hesitations with Kyle McCord. Thank you, Adam Baum. Big Daddy, whoa. All right. All right. Righty then. With a $5 super chat says, should the Seahawks trade up in the second to draft Milroe and have him sit behind Geno for a year? No, I'm not trading up for Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe had plenty of chances at Alabama. Look, I watch more college football than anyone I know. I have seen plenty of Jalen Milroe over the last few seasons. And this was a guy that is an incredible athlete. No one's questioning that. He is a very good runner. He's got speed. He's got power. But he looks more like a running back than he does a quarterback. And he has struggled with accuracy. And he's had plenty of opportunities to succeed. Those Alabama teams were talented the last 2 years. And he missed out on getting to the national championship his first year, lost his job, got it back. And then his second year, that team didn't even make the playoffs. So with that said, he's been under 2 different coaching staffs now. I'm a little out on Jalen Milroe. I've said for a long time the jury's out on Jalen Milroe. The jury is still out on Jalen Milroe. Seahawks Today is bringing you up-to-the-minute coverage. Maybe you're watching this and you're saying, man, I would love to be a part of a mailbag segment. Well, you're in luck. If you subscribe now and turn on notifications, you'll be the first to know when we go live and bring you these mailbag segments we do each and every Wednesday. Subscribe now for free. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. And join what we call the Noti Gang here on Seahawks Today. Spam Noti Gang if you're part of that Noti Gang, and we'll continue here on today's show. Smitty's Burner writes in, should the Seahawks consider trading for Cooper Kupp? Well, Smitty's Burner, let me tell you this. Cooper Kupp, fantastic talent. Former Super Bowl MVP, had an incredible season. What was that now? 3 or 4 years ago when he was able to get the Triple Crown, leading the NFL in receptions and yards and touchdowns. He had a historic season. But since then, Cooper Kupp has struggled to stay healthy. 2022, his numbers were about half of what they were. 2023, he played in more games than he did in 2022, and his numbers were worse. You're starting to see a trend. Last year, same amount of games played. Numbers down when it came to yardage and yards per reception as well. Cooper Kupp, I'll say this. I like Cooper Kupp. I've been a fan of Cooper Kupp, even as the Seahawks guy here for a while. But it doesn't get any better as you get older when it comes to these injuries. And I'm just not sold. And I think a trade, you'd be giving up capital, which would then, in turn, help out the Rams. I'm not trying to help out the Rams in the process either. I think it's a no for me on trading for Cooper Kupp. Although, however, there is a Rams player I do like that's available in free agency. Keep an eye on Tutu Atwell. When you talk about replacing Tyler Lockett, that's a name to keep an eye on potentially. I'm not trading for Cooper Kupp, but I would keep tabs on Tutu potentially. Should the Seahawks trade for Cooper Kupp? Why for yes, in for no? Weigh in and let us know. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed, whether you're looking for tickets to sport events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more. Game Time has got you covered. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The big game is almost here. Maybe you want to make some memories like I did with my dad, taking him to an NFL playoff game, and head on down to NOLA for the big game. Maybe it's an event within Seattle. You want to go see the Kraken. Maybe it's UW. Whatever it may be. They got tickets for sporting events, concerts, theater productions, and everything in between. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that is one you do not want to pass up on. They have their customize your spot feature. They also have the seat views and get the visual see what your seat is like. Choose the event you want to go to. Price is listed. Choose your seat, and then boom, just like that, you're checking out with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. With Game Time, the lowest price is guaranteed. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPRTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Man of 12s writes in, could you see the Seahawks making a trade for Jordan Davis? I promise you, I'm not saying no to everything. All right? But Jordan Davis, I know he's going to be, playing for the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles, chance to go compete for a Super Bowl and all that. But with all that talent there in Philadelphia, I haven't seen a ton from Jordan Davis this year. Just 1 sack, 3 TFLs. I think Seattle does need to address the defensive line. Jarran Reed is about to head to free agency, as is Jonathan Hankins. I'd like to bring back Jarran Reed. I'd probably say no to Jonathan Hankins. I think you got 2 stalwarts for a long time when it comes to Byron Murphy as well as Leonard Williams. Jordan Davis, I don't think, is necessarily the answer you're looking for. You're headed in the right track there with getting defensive line help, but I don't necessarily think Jordan Davis is the solution you're looking for. Should the Seahawks trade for Jordan Davis? What do you think? Type T for trade, P for pass. Weigh in. Let us know if you would bring him to Seattle or not. The Don writes in, if the Chiefs don't re-sign Nick Bolton, we should sign him. So, Nick Bolton, I got to tell you, fantastic football player. One of the big emphasis for him this year came down to creating more turnovers. That was something that he didn't really do a whole lot of early in his career, but he did everything else. He focused on it, zeroed in on it, and he saw results. Had an interception this year, had 2 fumble recoveries, had a forced fumble, did a really good job. With that said, you're not going to pay Ernest Jones and Nick Bolton. And I think your first priority is to keep Ernest Jones around. If for whatever reason you can't bring back Ernest Jones, then maybe Nick Bolton is a potential option there. But I would say it's unlikely you have both of them. I think that could be a backup plan potentially for Seattle. Although, who knows? He might end up costing more than Ernest Jones does potentially in the free agent market. Not Lover says, I don't know anything about the new OC hire. Tell me about him. And does he like to run or pass more? Well, you've come to the right person for this. Not Lover. Clint Kubiak. The thing I like the most is he's very effective in the red zone. Saints were a terrible team this past year. They were ranked 11th in red zone scoring offense compared to Seattle, who was 14th with a much better team. And Geno, of course, had the league-leading 5 interceptions in the red zone this past season. So with those things in mind there, I think your red zone difference is going to be substantial. On top of that, it is a more pro-style offense that Clint Kubiak is going to run. You're going to see Geno under center more than what we saw previously with Ryan Grubb's air raid spread offense scheme that he ran in the past. So I think they're going to run the football more. They're going to try to be more physical. I think that you're going to like what you see from Clint Kubiak. I think there's reason to be optimistic. And although this year wasn't great in New Orleans, I think a lot of that was out of his control. And the other thing I would say, go look back at his season when he was OC in Minnesota. That offense was very prolific. And they had a good balance between their run and pass game with Cousins and Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson and company. So, yes, they're going to run the football more. Going to be more of a traditional offense, more Geno under center. They're going to try to be more physical at the line of scrimmage and do that thing. And I think Clint Kubiak is going to be a good choice there. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now to Seattle Seahawks Today for the latest happenings in your favorite team all offseason long. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. All right. We are through all of our segments now. We answered that $5 super chat that came in a moment ago. That was from Big Daddy. Appreciate that, Big Daddy. Colin, any thoughts on the day and just kind of what we talked about? We covered a lot in a short amount of time.
We did. I will say I was right on Cooper Kupp.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody remembers or anybody follows our Chat Sports Instagram / main page.
You should, because Colin manages a lot of that.
You do a lot of work, so appreciate that. But listen, no, I said Cooper Kupp when asked who's the most overrated athlete in sports. And I said currently it's Cooper Kupp. And, he really had a kind of a bad second half of the year for the Los Angeles Rams. And I would not trade for him. I think he's, a fine receiver, and especially, depending on what Los Angeles decides to do with Kupp, I think he could still be productive, but he's nowhere near the Triple Crown winner that he once was. Teacher, do you want to know something interesting about Cooper Kupp?
Tell me something interesting about Cooper Kupp.
Outside of that 1 year, which again, arguably was the greatest year, you could even call it the greatest year for a receiver ever. How many 1,000-yard seasons do you think Cooper Kupp's had in his career?
Hasn't he only had like one other?
One.
Yeah.
It's insane. And
That's crazy.
Again, else had something to do with it, but listen, I think, for Seattle, or for the Rams, they're going with Puka, and I think for Seattle, the days of Cooper Kupp kind of terrorizing everybody here in Seattle, those days are over.
What do you think about my idea of bringing in Tutu? I think that would be a natural fit to replace Lockett.
I don't mind bringing in Tutu. He would obviously provide that speed threat. He obviously kind of got better the longer he stayed under the Los Angeles system. When he first came out, he was ironically in that same draft with Dwayne Eskridge, if you remember.
Yes.
So, they went back-to-back picks there. And, look, neither one of those guys panned out. If you want to bring Tutu in on a kind of lower-end type deal, 1 year prove-it deal, I have no problem with that. Would definitely stretch the field. And, again, under Kubiak's offense, could be a really nice deep threat.
All right, so we can stick around for a bit. It is your show. It's up to you guys. I'm going to put a minute on the clock. If we get a super chat of any amount, we can keep the show going. We can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Doesn't have to be limited to just the Seahawks either. We could certainly talk college football, college basketball, whatever you guys got on your minds. Colin and I are big sports fans. We can talk anything that you guys send us. But we had to have a Super Chat to keep the show going. Super Chat menu today, $10 jello shots, $20 beer bongs. I got a minute on the clock. Super Chat menu amount, we stay live. Otherwise, we'll sign off and we'll go home and call it a day. It's up to you guys what you want to do here.
100%. I'll just throw this question at you. From Seattle Flights, what will the Seahawks do with Sam Howell next year? I would be shocked if Sam Howell's on the roster next year.
I don't think Sam Howell's back.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think they'll try to trade him, see if anybody will take a bite on it, and then if not, probably cut him. And I would think that there is going to be a later round pick that will be the backup quarterback for Geno next year.
I can see it. Again, maybe that is a Kyle McCord, or maybe that is somebody that they draft on day 3. But time in the Buckeye. Ohio State winning the Natty back-to-back.
I doubt it. They're losing about 15 starters.
I mean, yeah, they are a lot. I mean, it feels like 3 starters in the offensive line may go first round. Yeah, I mean, they're losing both their running backs. I mean, I get it, Jeremiah Smith and I'm blanking on Caleb Downs, 2 of the best players in college football going into next year. I don't know if that's going to be enough to propel Ohio State to back-to-back champs. But I could be wrong. Who knows?
Maybe they just get the pocketbooks out and just buy more players, potentially.
Maybe.
All right, I didn't see more Super Chats, so we'll sign off. Colin, always a pleasure. Great time, my friend.
Likewise.
Plug away, since you're not here with us all the time. When you're not here, where can people find you and follow you and see what you're doing, man?
Yeah, I'm on social media, kind of like Tyler. All my social media is at CullenBrown21. Again,
what's the 21 stand for?
21 is just my favorite number. So
for Devon Witherspoon?
Yeah, love Little Spoon. So yeah, 21, CullenBrown21. If you guys want to get at me, always down to talk Seahawks ball with you guys.
Was 21 your favorite number before Witherspoon
Yes.
went to Seattle? Okay.
Yeah, just it's been since I was a kid.
Okay.
Had nothing to do.
And then he wears 21, and you're like, I'm all in.
Oh yeah, got his jersey at home and everything.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We will sign off. We got more coverage on the channel throughout the week, so stay tuned for that. And we will see you all next week from New Orleans for Super Bowl week. The next time you'll see us in a live show, we will be in the Big Easy. We will see you then. For Colin Brown, I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great night, everybody. So long.